Hey y'all, so today I'm going to show you guys how I heal my tattoos. I have kind of a specific method of healing and it works out really well for me. I mean, as you can see, my tattoos are nice and bright and yeah, they heal up pretty cool. So this is how I do it. What you'll want to do if you want to use this method is you'll need three things. One, you'll need some masking tape. You don't need it to be this thick. It could be like, you know, I think this is like a 2-inch roll or something. A 1-inch roll or 3/4 inch roll, ½ inch, totally fine. It doesn't need to be this thick. It could be half this thick, even less. Second thing you need, cling wrap. You need to have the kind that is, you know, Reynolds wrap, Glad wrap, all those brands. It's cling wrap, basically. Get some of this. If depending on how much tattooing you have to do, or how much you plan on doing, at least, you might want a bigger roll. You probably already have this laying around your house. Most people have cling wrap in their house. Probably already have the masking tape too, so you probably won't even have to buy any of this stuff. This you will have to buy. This is the most important part. Aquaphor. This works well for me. The company's named Eucerin. They also make a it's like a kind of more like lotion type. This stuff is more like Vaseline. It's like petroleum jelly. It's really greasy. It goes a long way. Like, I'll show you guys right now. I'm going to put some on my arm. So I'm just putting it on the lower half of my arm, but most of this has had color recently, so a lot of it is dry right now. For my whole arm, I'm probably only going to put a gob like that. You don't want to put more than that. I mean, you can, but you'll end up with a huge greasy mess, and it goes a long way. Now, when you're first applying it, it's harder to do because your skin is nice and sensitive and it hurts, and you're rubbing on it. So what I do is I put like a little gob here, a little gob here, you know, just all over, like, you know, just like brush it on very gently and just kind of get it into areas that are really dry, because it's going to concentrate more in those spots. And after you got it all off, then you just rub it in like so. Now when it's really sensitive, you're not going to be able to like grab it and like rub it in like this. Obviously it's going to hurt a lot more. It's also good for healing really annoying spots. If you guys have been tattooed before, you might notice sometimes when you get tattooed, certain spots will get like they'll not scar, but they'll get more like crusties. They'll get just kind of thicker, like it'll scab. And to heal those scabs, you don't want to pick them. Pick that off. That's picking off your color. It'll make it fade, and it won't look so good. So you don't want to do it. Don't rub it very hard. I mean, unless you're rubbing on, you know, lotion. Don't scratch it. Don't pick at it. Don't do any of that stuff. Just leave it alone. It'll go away. Especially if you got Aquaphor. You could like you know, isolate those spots, and you just put a gob on there and just rub it in, and just do it for days. Just keep doing it. Don't worry, it will go away. It'll flatten out. It won't scar unless you keep picking at it. If you keep picking at it, it'll never heal. It'll always be like scarred. You don't want that. So yeah, so after you get tattooed, the tattoo artist will wrap up the piece of you that has been tattooed. Usually they'll use either like a big bandage type thing, or they'll do what I'm doing here. They'll take saran wrap, they'll put a whole bunch of Vaseline on your arm, they'll wrap it up, and they'll tape it. When you tape it, you just got to put it along, you know, various spots where the saran wrap folds over. If you're getting tattooed like on your arm, I would suggest wrapping a napkin around like your wrist and taping that, because all the blood and fluid is going to flow down to that spot more than likely, and it'll flow out of your bandage because it's just saran wrap. If you put a napkin around it, it will absorb any of the goo and blood and crap, and it won't get in your bed and on your sheets and on your pillow. That doesn't always work. It usually does, but I have the stains on my pillow to prove that sometimes ink gets out of the bandage. So you want to do that for the first 3 nights. So the first night, the tattoo artist will have wrapped you up. You keep that bandage on regardless of when you were tattooed that day, the whole day. if you were tattooed in the morning, I guess you could take it off at night and clean it, but I would just leave it on. I would just sleep in it. The next morning, you'll take it off. You'll clean the area off as simply as you can. The way I do it, I take a washcloth and I put really warm water on it, and I just like pat it and kind of gently like rub on it. Very, very gently. You don't want to like push on it. It's bad while it's healing. Yeah, and then after that, you leave it uncovered for the whole day. You apply the Aquaphor on it, you know, 2 or 3 times if you can. At least once, though. You want to have at least one application of Aquaphor after you've cleaned it. And then you go about your day as easily as you can. And then the next night, you do the same thing. You put Aquaphor on it, you take your saran wrap, you wrap it around, you take your tape, you tape it up, you go to sleep. It's a lot easier to sleep with something wrapped around it because you're not constantly rubbing up against something else. You will notice the first few nights especially. So the first night, you keep the tattoo bandaged that the tattoo artist put on there. Second night, you wrap it up yourself. Third night, you wrap it up yourself. You can wrap it a 4th night. I don't suggest it because then your arm isn't breathing enough and it needs the oxygen to heal. And I actually did that with this one. I did wrap it 4 nights in a row. On the 4th night when I woke up, I had little bumps on my arm, and I think it was because the Aquaphor was clogging the pores in my arm, and it just started getting like kind of pimply and irritated. So I didn't wrap it up after that. So that was the first time that's ever happened since I've been using Aquaphor, and I've been healing with Aquaphor pretty much, I think, the whole time I've been getting tattooed. So since, you know, 2003, 2004. And it's worked out really well for me. I used to use the cream stuff, but I got an allergic reaction to that, and it started making my skin get all bumpy and really irritated and rashed, and I didn't like it. So luckily Aquaphor makes a different type of same healing skin product. And it's just a healing ointment. It says advanced therapy for dry, cracked, or irritated skin. So if you have naturally dry skin, this stuff's really good to use anyway. You can pick this stuff up at pretty much any drugstore, I think. Here in California, we have Long's and Walgreens and Rite Aid. You can find that at any of those places. Where else in the United States, I don't know, or in the world, I'm sorry. But this is like dermatologist recommended, and it's really good. A big jar like this, I think, is like 20 or 25 bucks. They do make smaller ones that are like 15 or 20, but I just go big because, well, I have a lot of tattoos to heal, and I'll always have tattoos to heal if I get my way. That's it. Aquaphor, yay! Love the stuff. Works out really well. It is really greasy though, like I said, and if you're like, I don't know. It's like Vaseline, basically. So, there you go. If you guys have any other questions, tattoo or body mod related, feel free to ask them. If you have an idea for a video, I like making videos. And if you got a good question for me to answer, I will probably do it if I like it. So, anyways, I hope you guys like the tips, and I'll talk to you guys later.